At 59 years of age, Charles Barkley still casts a long shadow across the game he once dominated. He is the voice of truth and thunder in basketball commentary, the man unafraid to laugh at himself, yet equally unafraid to pierce through the myths that so often surround the world of sports. For decades, Barkley has been celebrated for his honesty, his wit, and his unshakable refusal to bow before popular opinion. And in a league where reputations often rise higher than the game itself, Barkley has dared to do what few others would: name the men he believes to be the most overrated in basketball history. Not just in whispers, but in the full glare of public light. This is not a story of disrespect. It is not a tale of bitterness. It is, rather, a truth told in Barkley's unmistakable voice, raw, unpolished, and deeply human. Because to him, greatness must never be a costume. It must never be handed out by the media, or wrapped in glimmering contracts, or defined by fanfare. To Barkley, greatness is earned on the court, night after night, against the fiercest of opponents, when the lights are bright and the stakes are heavy. And for those who fell short of that standard, yet still basked in the glow of unowned legend, Barkley has no hesitation in calling them out. Number 1. Dwight Howard. The man once crowned as Superman. In the mid-2000s, Dwight Howard was hailed as the new heir to Shaquille O'Neal, a towering center with broad shoulders, endless strength, and a smile that made him the darling of fans. He won Defensive Player of the Year 3 times. He led Orlando to the NBA Finals. He dunked his way into highlight reels that seemed endless. And yet, to Charles Barkley, something essential was always missing. For Barkley, Howard represented not just power but squandered potential, a player who had all the tools but never the heart of a true champion. Barkley once said, in a moment of brutal honesty, that Howard was more concerned with goofing around than with perfecting his craft. He criticized his lack of seriousness, his refusal to develop a polished offensive game, his failure to carry himself with the gravitas of a leader. And when Howard's career began to unravel, bouncing from team to team, Barkley's words seemed to echo louder with each passing year. To him, Howard symbolized the tragedy of a player celebrated more for what he looked like he could do, rather than for what he consistently delivered. Number 2. Carmelo Anthony. Few names stir more debate than Carmelo's, a scorer who seemed to glide effortlessly into 25 points a night. He was adored in New York, lionized in Denver, and admired around the globe for his Olympic triumphs. And yet, Barkley has long been skeptical of the myth of Melo. For all the points, for all the buckets, there was always the question of impact. Did Carmelo make his teams better? Did he elevate those around him? Barkley was among the many who believed that Anthony's obsession with scoring, his reluctance to sacrifice for the sake of team chemistry, and his uneven commitment to defense made him overrated. Barkley once argued that being able to score does not make you great unless you are willing to do the other things that winning demands. To him, Melo's refusal to adapt, whether by passing more, defending harder, or embracing a different role later in his career, was proof that the aura of stardom had outshone the substance of greatness. Melo was, in Barkley's eyes, the embodiment of a gifted artist whose canvas was incomplete. Number 3. Yao Ming. A giant from China, standing 7'6", Yao was unlike anyone the league had ever seen. He carried not only the expectations of a franchise but the hopes of an entire nation. His skill set was elegant, his touch soft, his presence commanding. But to Charles Barkley, Yao Ming's legend was built as much on politics and global marketing as it was on performance. Yao was voted to All-Star games year after year, propelled by millions of fans overseas, and Barkley, ever the truth teller, called it out. He argued that while Yao was a good player, he was never the dominant force his accolades suggested. Injuries robbed him of consistency. Conditioning robbed him of stamina. And while the NBA used Yao as a bridge to international markets, Barkley believed his reputation became inflated beyond the reality of his impact on the court. To call Yao overrated was not to deny his talent or his role in globalizing the game. It was, instead, to strip away the glitter of myth and confront the truth: that greatness must be earned in battle, not bestowed by circumstance. Number 4. Blake Griffin. The high-flying dunker whose highlights once seemed to rewrite the laws of physics. Griffin was a showman, a force of nature above the rim, a marketing dream for a Los Angeles franchise hungry for relevance. For years, he was plastered across billboards and commercials, his face as recognizable as any in the league. But Charles Barkley, ever unimpressed by flash without substance, remained skeptical. He once remarked that Griffin's game lacked the fundamentals needed for long-term greatness. Yes, The dunks were spectacular. Yes, the energy was undeniable. But could he shoot? Could he defend at an elite level? Could he control a game when his athleticism began to fade? To Barkley, Griffin was the perfect example of style triumphing over substance. His popularity, his all-star appearances, his endless highlights were, in Barkley's view, a mirage. Because when the postseason arrived, when strategy and skill mattered most, Griffin's limitations were laid bare. To Barkley, he was not the franchise savior so many imagined, but rather a star built on fragile ground. Number 5. Russell Westbrook. Few players embody both admiration and controversy like Westbrook. A relentless competitor, a man with the heart of a warrior, a triple-double machine who shattered records once thought untouchable. And yet, for Charles Barkley, numbers are not the whole story. Barkley has praised Westbrook's intensity, his passion, his refusal to back down. But he has also warned that statistics can deceive. To Barkley, Westbrook's obsession with chasing numbers, his erratic decision-making, his inefficiency, and his stubborn refusal to adapt his style all cast a shadow over his accomplishments. Barkley argued that while Westbrook was undeniably talented, his legacy would forever be haunted by the question of impact. Did all those triple-doubles translate into championships? Did his teams truly thrive under his relentless pace, or did they falter under the weight of his mistakes? To Barkley, Westbrook was the most modern example of a player celebrated more for spectacle than for substance. A man whose greatness was real, but whose reputation had been inflated by the allure of statistics.